The day Earth changed forever started like any other. The sun rose, people went to work, and life went on as usual. But high above the planet, in secret government labs, something big was happening. Dr. Kim sat at her desk, sipping her third cup of coffee. Her eyes were glued to the computer screen. Strange signals had been coming in for days. At first, she thought it was just space noise. But now, she was sure. This was a message from space. "Sir, you need to see this," she called to her boss, Dr. Park. Dr. Park hurried over. His eyes widened as he looked at the screen. "Is this what I think it is?" Dr. Kim nodded. "Yes, sir. I think we just got a message from aliens." Within hours, the news spread. First to the Korean government, then to the United Nations. World leaders met in secret. They all asked the same question: what should we do? As the world's top minds worked to decode the message, something unexpected happened. The aliens decided to make the first move. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon when the sky lit up. A massive ship, bigger than anything humans had ever built, appeared over Seoul. People stopped in their tracks, cars screeched to a halt, and everyone looked up in awe. The alien ship hung in the air, silent and still. Then, a voice boomed out, speaking in perfect Korean. "People of Earth, we are the cruel. We come in peace and wish to speak with your leaders." Panic spread quickly. Some people ran, others cheered, and many just stood in shock. The world's militaries went on high alert, but no one dared to make a move against the enormous ship. In an emergency meeting, Earth's leaders chose Captain Jae-won of the Korean Space Force to lead the first contact team. He was young for such a big job, but he was smart and calm under pressure. Captain Jae-won stood tall as he addressed his team. "This is the moment we've all dreamed of, but never really thought would happen. We're about to meet aliens. Real, living aliens. Our job is to represent all of humanity. Let's make a good first impression." The team nodded, nervous but excited. They boarded a special plane and flew up to meet the alien ship. As they got closer, they could see just how big it was. The alien ship was smooth and silver, with no visible engines or windows. It seemed to float in the air by magic. A door appeared in the side of the ship, and a ramp extended down. Captain Jae-won took a deep breath and led his team inside. The inside of the ship was amazing. The walls glowed with soft light, and the air felt fresh and clean. Strange machines hummed quietly all around them. At the end of a long hallway, they met the crew. The aliens were tall and thin, with blue skin and large, dark eyes. They wore simple white clothes that seemed to flow like water. The leader of the crew stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Xer. Welcome aboard our ship." Captain Jae-won bowed slightly. "Thank you for your welcome, Ambassador. I am Captain Jae-won, representing the people of Earth." Ambassador Xer smiled, or at least that's what it looked like. "We have been watching your planet for some time, Captain. We are impressed by your progress, though you still have much to learn." Captain Jae-won felt a mix of pride and worry at those words. "We are eager to learn from you, Ambassador. But may I ask, why have you chosen to reveal yourselves now?" The alien's smile faded a bit. "The galaxy is a dangerous place, Captain. There are threats out there that your people cannot imagine. We have come to offer our protection." Captain Jae-won's team exchanged worried glances. This sounded both exciting and scary. "That's very kind of you," Captain Jae-won said carefully. "What would this protection involve?" Ambassador Xer waved a long-fingered hand. "Oh, nothing too difficult. We would simply need some of your planet's resources. In exchange, we would share some of our technology and keep you safe from other, less friendly aliens." Captain Jae-won felt a chill run down his spine. This didn't sound like a fair deal at all. But he kept his face calm and nodded politely. "I see. Well, this is certainly a lot to think about. We'll need to discuss this with our world leaders before making any decisions." Ambassador Xer nodded. "Of course. Take all the time you need. We'll be waiting." As Captain J1 and his team left the ship, they all had the same thought. Earth might be in big trouble. The days after first contact were crazy. Everyone on Earth talked about the Cruel. Some people were excited. Others were scared. World leaders met day and night to figure out what to do. Captain J1 stood before the United Nations, telling them about his meeting with Ambassador Xer. When he finished, the room was silent. Then someone asked, "What exactly do they want from us?" J1 took a deep breath. "They want our resources, water, minerals, maybe even people to work for them. In return, they offer protection from other aliens." The room burst into angry shouts. No one liked the sound of this deal. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Sumin of Korean intelligence was working hard. She thought the Cruel were hiding something. Day and night, she studied the aliens' language and technology. One night, as Sumin was about to go home, her computer beeped. She had cracked a secret Cruel message. Her eyes went wide as she read it. "Oh no," she whispered. "I have to tell the captain." The next day, Sumin met J1 in a quiet park. She looked nervous. "Captain, I found out something bad," she said. "The Cruel aren't here to protect us. They want to take over Earth. They've done this to other planets before." J1's face turned pale. "Are you sure?" Sumin nodded. "I'm sure. We can't trust them." J1 thanked her and went straight to the president. Soon, all of Earth's leaders knew the truth. They had to make a big decision: give in to the Cruel or fight back. In the end, they chose to fight. Earth would not give up without a battle. The next day, J1 met with Ambassador Xer again. This time, he wasn't so polite. "We know what you're really planning," J1 said. "Earth isn't going to be your next victim. We refuse your offer." Xer's friendly mask dropped away. His eyes turned cold. "You're making a big mistake, human," he growled. "You have no idea what you're up against." J1 stood tall. "Maybe not, but we'd rather die free than live as slaves." As J1 left, Xer called after him. "You have 1 day to change your mind. After that, we take what we want by force." Back on Earth, everyone prepared for war. Soldiers got ready, and people stocked up on food and supplies. The whole world came together, forgetting old fights in the face of this new threat. J1 met with Earth's best scientists and generals. "What are our chances?" he asked. An old general shook his head. "Not good. Their tech is way ahead of ours. We'll fight hard." But he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. As the hours ticked by, tension grew. People looked at the sky, wondering when the attack would come. In a secret underground room, the world's leaders met one last time. The president of Korea stood up to speak. "We may not have the Cruel's technology," she said, "but we have something they don't expect: unity. For the first time in history, all of humanity stands as one. We will not go quietly. We will show these aliens what humans can do." Everyone cheered, but fear still hung in the air. As the deadline approached, J1 couldn't sleep. He walked to a hill overlooking the city. The Cruel ship floated above, a constant reminder of the danger. Suddenly, Sumin ran up to him, out of breath. "Captain, you won't believe what I just found out." Before she could say more, the sky lit up with a blinding flash. Loud booms shook the ground. The Cruel attack had begun. J1 looked at the chaos spreading across the city. Then he turned to Sumin. "Tell me quickly, what did you find?" Sumin's eyes were wide with excitement and fear. "We have a secret weapon, Captain. Something not even our own people know about. Something that might just save us all." As explosions rocked the city, J1 listened to Sumin's incredible news. For the first time since the Cruel arrived, he felt a spark of hope. The battle for Earth had begun, but humanity had an ace up its sleeve. and the Krull were about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating humans. As the Krull ships rained fire on Earth's cities, Captain J1 and Lieutenant Sumin raced through underground tunnels. Explosions shook the ground above them. "Where are we going?" J1 shouted over the noise. "To meet Admiral Yunji," Sumin answered. "She has something to show us." They reached a heavy metal door. Sumin pressed her hand to a scanner, and the door slid open. Inside, they found a large room full of screens and busy people. In the center stood Admiral Yunji, a tall woman with sharp eyes. "Captain, Lieutenant," she nodded. "I'm glad you made it. It's time you learned about Project Leviathan." Admiral Yunji pressed a button, and a big screen lit up. It showed something that made J1 and Sumin gasp. "Is that a spaceship?" J1 asked in awe. Yunji smiled proudly. "Not just any spaceship. This is HMBS Sejong, Earth's first interstellar battleship." The screen showed a massive ship, bigger than anything humans had built before. It looked powerful and ready for battle. "How is this possible?" Sumin asked. "We don't have this kind of technology." "That's what the world thinks," Yunji said. "But for the past 50 years, the best scientists from every country have been working in secret. They've been studying alien tech left on Earth long ago. And they built this." J1 couldn't believe his eyes. "Where is it now?" "Hidden on the far side of the moon," Yunji answered. "Ready to launch at any moment." Just then, a loud alarm blared. A young officer ran up to them. "Admiral, the Krull have broken through our defenses in Seoul and New York." Yunji's face turned serious. "It's time to make a decision. Do we reveal our trump card?" The room fell silent. Everyone knew what was at stake. J1 stepped forward. "With all due respect, Admiral, we don't have a choice. Earth is under attack. If we don't use the Sejong now, there might not be an Earth to save." Yunji nodded. "You're right. And there's more. Captain J1, we've chosen you to command the Sejong." J1's eyes widened in surprise. "Me? But I've never commanded a ship like this before." "No one has," Yunji said with a small smile. "But you've shown great skill and courage. We believe in you." Sumin put a hand on J1's shoulder. "We all do, Captain." J1 took a deep breath and stood tall. "I accept. When do we leave?" "Right now," Yunji said. She turned to the room. "Send the launch codes. Tell the Sejong crew to prepare for battle." Alarms sounded, and people rushed to their stations. Screens lit up with launch preparations. "There's a shuttle waiting to take you to the moon base," Yunji told J1 and Sumin. "Lieutenant, you'll be joining the captain as his intelligence officer." As they hurried to the shuttle, J1's mind raced. He was about to command the most advanced ship in human history against an alien invasion. The fate of Earth was in his hands. The shuttle ride to the moon was tense. J1 and Sumin watched Earth grow smaller, fires visible on its surface where the Krull attacked. "Do you think we can win?" Sumin asked quietly. J1 looked at her, then back at Earth. "We have to. There's no other choice." They landed at the secret moon base and rushed to the Sejong. As they entered the massive ship, crew members saluted. "Captain on deck." Someone shouted. J1 looked around the bridge. It was like something from a sci-fi movie, but it was real, and it was his to command. He sat in the captain's chair and took a deep breath. "Crew of the Sejong, this is Captain J1. Earth is under attack. We are humanity's last hope. I know this ship, this mission, is new to all of us. But I also know that we've trained for this. We're ready. Together, we're going to save our home." The crew cheered. J1 felt their determination and hope. "Prepare for launch," he ordered. "It's time to show the Krull what humanity can really do." As the Sejong's engines roared to life, J1 gripped his chair. They were about to change the course of the war. The real battle was just beginning. As the HMVS Sejong prepared to launch, Chaos reigned on Earth. The cruel ships appeared out of nowhere, filling the skies over major cities. In New York, people ran screaming as alien fighters zoomed between skyscrapers. Laser beams cut through buildings like butter. The Statue of Liberty's torch fell with a crash. Over in Tokyo, giant cruel walkers stomped through the streets. They were as tall as office buildings with long metal legs. Earth's tanks looked like toys next to them. London's famous Big Ben clock tower toppled as a cruel ship crashed into it. The alien ship was damaged by Earth's Air Force, but it took out the landmark as it fell. All around the world, similar scenes played out. Humanity fought back hard, but they were outmatched. The Krul's technology was just too advanced. In Seoul, Admiral Yunji coordinated Earth's defenses from an underground bunker. Sweat dripped down her face as she barked orders into a headset. "We need air support in Sydney. Redirect the 7th Fleet to assist Mumbai." She paused, listening to a report. Her face fell. "We've lost contact with Berlin. Keep trying." A young officer ran up to her with a tablet. "Admiral, you need to see this." Yunji looked at the screen and gasped. The Krul had landed a massive ship in the Amazon rainforest. Trees for miles around had been flattened. "They're setting up a base," Yunji realized. "We can't let them get a foothold." She turned to her communication officer. "Get me Captain J1 on the Sejong. Now." Up on the Sejong, J1 and his crew were racing to finish launch preparations. Suddenly, Su-min called out from her station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's Admiral Yunji." J1 nodded. "Put her through." Yunji's face appeared on the main screen. She looked tired and worried. "Captain, we need the Sejong now. The Krul are setting up a base in the Amazon. If they succeed, we'll never push them off Earth." J1's jaw tightened. "Understood, Admiral. We're almost ready. Just a few more minutes." "We don't have a few more minutes," Yunji shouted. Then she took a deep breath. "I'm sorry. I know you're doing your best. Just hurry." The screen went dark. J1 turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. Let's move, people." Everyone worked even faster. Engineers made final checks on the engines. Weapons officers loaded the gun banks. In the medical bay, doctors prepared for casualties. Su-min worked furiously at her console, analyzing cruel communications. Suddenly, she sat up straight. "Captain, I found something important about the cruel ships." J1 hurried over. "What is it, Lieutenant?" Su-min pointed to her screen. "Look here. Their ship's shields have a weak spot. If we hit them just right, we might be able to take them down." J1 smiled for the first time in hours. "Great work, Su-min. This could change everything." Just then, the ship's engines roared to life. The deck vibrated under their feet. "Captain, all systems are go," reported the chief engineer. "We're ready for launch." J1 took his seat in the captain's chair. He looked around at his crew, seeing determination in every face. "This is it, everyone. Earth is counting on us. We may be outnumbered and facing technology we've never seen before, but we have something the Krul don't. We're fighting for our home, our families, everything we love. And now, thanks to Lieutenant Su-min, we know their weakness." He paused, letting his words sink in. "It won't be easy, but I believe in this ship, and I believe in all of you. Together, we're going to save Earth. Are you with me?" The crew cheered, their voices filling the bridge. J1 nodded, feeling the surge of pride. He turned to face the front view screen. "Helm, take us out. Weapons, be ready. It's time to show the Krul what humanity can do." The HMBS Sejong lifted off from its secret moon base. As it rose, the Earth came into view. The blue planet was scared with fires, but it was still beautiful, still worth fighting for. J1 took a deep breath. Full speed ahead. To Earth. The Sejong's engines flared, and the massive battleship shot towards home. The real battle was about to begin. The HMVS Sejong raced towards Earth, its engines glowing bright against the darkness of space. On the bridge, Captain J1 watched the blue planet grow larger on the view screen. Fires dotted its surface where the Cruel attacked. "We're entering Earth's atmosphere," reported the pilot. 30 seconds to contact with Cruel forces." J1 nodded. "All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill." Alarms blared throughout the ship as crew members rushed to their posts. In the engine room, engineers prepared for rapid maneuvers. In the weapon bays, gunners charged their systems. Lieutenant Sumin called out from her station. "Captain, I'm picking up Cruel communications. They've detected us, but they seem confused." J1 allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Let's keep them guessing. Helm, take us right into the thick of it. Weapons, stand by." The Sejong burst through the clouds over the Amazon rainforest. Below, the massive Cruel base sprawled across the flattened jungle. Smaller Cruel ships buzzed around it like angry bees. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The Cruel ships hovered in place, as if not believing what they were seeing. Then all hell broke loose. Cruel fighters swarmed towards the Sejong, their weapons flashing. But the human battleship's shields held strong. "Return fire," J1 ordered. "Show them what we can do." The Sejong's guns roared to life. Beams of energy shot out, slicing through Cruel fighters. Explosions lit up the sky. On the Cruel command ship, Admiral Skthar stared at the view screen in disbelief. "What is that thing?" he growled. "The humans don't have this kind of technology." His second-in-command trembled. "It appears we underestimated them, sir." Skathar's eyes narrowed. "No matter. Crush that ship. Use everything we have." Back on the Sejong, J1 gripped his chair as the ship shook from a heavy blast. "Damage report," he shouted. "Shields at 80%. No major damage," an officer replied. "Captain, their big guns pack a punch, but our armor is holding." Sumin turned from her console. "Captain, remember the weakness I found. Their main ship's left side is vulnerable. If we can get close enough." J1 nodded. "Good thinking. Helm, bring us around. Weapons, prepare to fire on my mark." The Sejong banked hard, dodging Cruel fire. It spun gracefully for such a large ship, surprising the alien fighters. On Earth, people watched the sky battle in awe. In New York, a little girl pointed up. "Look, Mommy, our ship is winning." All around the world, hope began to grow. Humanity wasn't beaten yet. In Seoul, Admiral Yunji allowed herself a moment of pride. "That's it, J1, she whispered. "Show them what we can do." The Sejong lined up its shot on the Cruel command ship. J1 leaned forward in his chair. "Steady, steady, fire." A massive beam shot out from the Sejong, hitting the Cruel ship right in its weak spot. The alien vessel shuddered, then explosions rippled along its side. "Direct hit," cheered the weapons officer. But the Cruel ship wasn't done yet. It turned its remaining guns on the Sejong, unleashing a barrage of fire. "Evasive maneuvers," J1 ordered. The Sejong twisted and turned, but couldn't dodge all the shots. The ship rocked violently. "Shields down to 50%, reported an officer. "We can't take much more of this." J1 gritted his teeth. They were so close. He turned to Sumin. "Any more tricks up your sleeve, Lieutenant?" Sumin's fingers flew over her console. "Maybe. Their communications seem vulnerable. If I can jam them." "Do it," J1 nodded. Sumin worked furiously, sweat beading on her forehead. Suddenly, the Cruel ships seemed to falter. "It's working," Sumin exclaimed. "They can't coordinate their attacks." J1 saw their chance. "All weapons, fire at will. Don't let up." The Sejong unleashed everything it had. Beams and missiles streaked towards the Cruel ships. One by one, the alien vessels began to fall. On Earth, cheers erupted as people saw the Cruel ships dropping from the sky. In the Amazon, the alien base crumbled under the Sejong's assault. Admiral Skthar watched in horror as his fleet was decimated. "Impossible," he muttered. "Retreat. All ships, retreat." The remaining cruel ships turned tail and fled, streaking up into space. On the Sejong's bridge, exhausted crew members looked to their captain. Jae-won stood tall, a weary smile on his face. "Well done, everyone," he said. "We've won the battle. Now let's win this war." As the sun rose over Earth, the HMVS Sejong hovered protectively above. The tide had turned. Humanity had revealed its strength, and the cruel would never underestimate them again. The battle wasn't over yet. Even though the HMVS Sejong had won its first fight, the cruel still had ships all over Earth. Captain Jae-won knew they had to finish the job. "Status report," he called out to his crew. Lieutenant Soo-min looked up from her screen. "The cruel are regrouping, Captain. They're pulling back to their biggest ship over the Pacific Ocean." Jae-won nodded. "They're not giving up. Neither are we. Set course for the Pacific." As the Sejong flew towards its next battle, Jae-won got a call from Admiral Eunji. "Great work, Captain," she said, her face tired but smiling on the screen. "But we're not done yet. The Krull's main ship is gathering its forces. This will be the big one." "We're on our way, Admiral," Jae-won replied. "Any word from our ground forces?" Eunji's smile grew. "They're fighting back hard. Seeing the Sejong has given everyone hope. But be careful, Captain. The cruel will be desperate now." The call ended, and Jae-won turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. This is for all the marbles. Let's finish this." Soon, the Sejong reached the Pacific. The sight that greeted them was scary. Hundreds of Krull ships surrounded a massive vessel that made the others look tiny. "That must be their mothership," Soo-min said, her eyes wide. Jae-won gripped his chair. "All hands, prepare for battle. This is what we trained for." The Krull noticed the Sejong right away. Their ships turned as one and opened fire. "Evasive maneuvers," Jae-won shouted. The Sejong danced through the sky, dodging blasts. Its own guns fired back, taking out Krull ships left and right. But there were so many. Alarms blared as hits rocked the Sejong. "Shields at 60% and dropping," yelled an officer. Jae-won knew they needed a plan. "Soo-min, any weak spots on that big ship?" Soo-min typed furiously at her console. "I'm looking, Captain." "Wait. Yes. There's a spot near the bottom. It looks like a main power source." "Good work," Jae-won said. "Now we just need to get close enough to hit it." But getting close wasn't easy. The Krull ships formed a tight wall around their mothership. Just then, Jae-won got another call. It was Admiral Eunji again. "Captain, we're sending help," she said. "Look to your left." Jae-won turned to the view screen. His jaw dropped. A swarm of Earth's jets and rockets were flying towards them. "All of Earth's armies are joining the fight," Eunji explained. "They'll give you the opening you need." Jae-won grinned. "Thank you, Admiral. We won't let you down." The Earth forces hit the Krull ships hard. It wasn't an even fight, but it was enough to create chaos. The Krull line broke. "Now's our chance," Jae-won said. "Full speed ahead." The Sejong shot forward, straight for the Krull mothership. Smaller ships tried to stop them, but the Sejong's guns blazed, clearing a path. They got closer and closer to the weak spot Soo-min had found. But the mothership wasn't going down without a fight. It turned its biggest guns on the Sejong. "Brace for impact," Jae-won yelled. The blast hit them hard. The Sejong shook like it was going to break apart. "Shields critical," shouted an officer. "One more hit like that, and we're done." Jae-won knew it was now or never. "Divert all power to weapons. Soo-min, do you have a lock on that weak spot?" Soo-min nodded, sweat on her forehead. "Yes, Captain. But we'll have to get a lot closer." "Then that's what we'll do," Jae-won said. He turned to his pilot. "Take us in." right into the heart of them. The Sejong dove towards the cruel mothership. Enemy fire flashed all around them. The ship groaned and creaked. They got closer, closer. Now, J1 shouted. The Sejong fired everything it had. A massive beam shot out, hitting the cruel ship right in its weak spot. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a huge explosion ripped through the cruel mothership. It split apart, pieces falling into the ocean below. The bridge of the Sejong erupted in cheers. But J1 knew they weren't safe yet. "Get us out of here," he ordered. The Sejong turned and sped away as the cruel mothership fell to pieces behind them. The remaining cruel ships, seeing their leader destroyed, started to retreat. All around the world, people watched as the cruel fleet ran away. Cheers erupted in every city. On the Sejong's bridge, the crew looked to their captain. J1 stood tall, a proud smile on his face. "Well done, everyone," he said. "We did it. We saved Earth." As the sun set over the Pacific, the HMBS Sejong flew home victorious. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and won. The cruel would never underestimate them again. The days after the big battle were busy and exciting. All over Earth, people came out of hiding. They cheered and hugged each other in the streets. The cruel were gone, and Earth was safe. Captain J1 and his crew brought the HMBS Sejong back to its secret moon base. As they stepped off the ship, Admiral Yunji was waiting for them. "Welcome home, heroes," she said with a big smile. "Earth owes you a debt we can never repay." J1 shook his head. "We all did our part, Admiral. The Sejong is amazing, but it was Earth standing together that won the day." The Admiral nodded. "True. And now we have a lot of work to do." She wasn't kidding. The next few weeks were very busy. There was so much to clean up and rebuild after the cruel attack. But people everywhere worked hard, helping each other out. One sunny day, J1 and Su-min were in New York. They watched as workers put the Statue of Liberty's torch back in place. "It's amazing how fast we're rebuilding," Su-min said. J1 smiled. "That's the human spirit for you. We don't stay down for long." As they walked through the city, people recognized them. Kids asked for autographs. Adults shook their hands and said thank you. J1 and Su-min felt proud, but also a little shy with all the attention. Meanwhile, in a secret meeting room, world leaders talked about what to do next. They all agreed on one thing. Earth needed to be ready if aliens ever attacked again. Admiral Yunji stood up to speak. "The HMBS Sejong showed us what we can do when we work together. I suggest we build more ships like it. We should explore space and be ready to defend our home." Everyone liked this idea. They decided to create a new group called the Earth Defense Force. Its job would be to protect the planet and explore space. A few days later, J1 got a call from Admiral Yunji. "Captain, we're naming you as the leader of the first Earth Defense Force fleet. What do you say?" J1 felt honored. "I'd be proud to serve, Admiral. But I have one condition. I want Lieutenant Su-min as my second in command." Yunji laughed. "I thought you might say that. It's already done. Congratulations to you both." The news of Earth's new space fleet spread quickly. All over the world, young people signed up to join. They wanted to be part of this exciting new adventure. 1 month after the cruel attack, Earth held a big celebration. In every major city, parades marched through the streets. The HMBS Sejong flew low over the crowds, and people cheered and waved. At the main ceremony in Seoul, J1 and his crew stood on a stage in front of thousands of people. The President of Korea stepped up to the microphone. "Today, we honor the heroes who saved our world," she said, "but we also look to the future. The cruel thought we were weak and easy to conquer. They were wrong. Now we will take our place among the stars." The crowd went wild. J1 looked at Su-min and smiled. They both knew exciting times were ahead. As the ceremony ended, J1 noticed something strange. A group of people near the back of the crowd didn't look quite human. They had blue skin and large dark eyes. J1 blinked, and they were gone. He shook his head. Maybe he had imagined it. Later that night, J1 stood on a hill overlooking Seoul. The city lights twinkled below. Above, the stars shone brightly. Somewhere out there, other alien races were watching. Sumin walked up beside him. "Thinking about what's next, Captain?" J1 nodded. "The universe is big, Sumin. There's so much to explore, so much to learn. And now, we're ready for it." Sumin grinned. "Well, whatever's out there, they'd better watch out. Earth isn't to be underestimated." J1 laughed. "You got that right. Come on, we have a fleet to build and a galaxy to explore." As they walked back to the city, a shooting star streaked across the sky. Earth's new era had begun. Whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity was ready to face them together.